Hi, and welcome to the Career Locker Room. This is Locker Talk, our podcast where we talk about some of the plays of the week. What's going to help you move forward, take action, and get in the game of your career. I'm Sam, and I am super excited to see you here. So let's talk promotion and getting passed over. You've got the experience, you've delivered results, and still you're getting passed over. If you're mid-career and feeling stuck, I want you to hear this because it is not that you are not qualified. It is not that you need to go find another certification, further your degree, go get more experience, more information. The reason you're not getting promoted or picked is because you're still telling the story of your past. You are still talking about your success in the next role as if it is your success in your current role or in a past role. But career decisions aren't made on your past. They are made on your future value that you bring to a role. The people who are moving forward in a hiring process, in a promotion cycle, they're not more talented than you. They're just better at showing how they fit at the next level of play. I experienced this firsthand in my career really, really early on. So I started my career at a tech company on a help desk, and really quickly, I decided that I wanted to get into leadership. It just had everything that I thought I would really enjoy. Managing people, being the captain of the ship, coordinating everybody, just checked a lot of boxes. And I had held a lot of leadership positions as I grew up, as I went through school, as I, just participated in different volunteer organizations. And so I thought, yeah, this is definitely what I'm meant to be doing. And so team lead position came up. I applied, did not get it. Applied again. Next time one came up, didn't get it. Got passed over a third time. And the only time I've ever shed a tear in my career at work was after that third time, sitting in my boss's office, and she's like, how are you feeling about this? And I just kind of lost it for a minute because I'm like, I just don't get it, right? Like, I'm getting all the right feedback. I'm a high performer. I'm the team mentor. Help with special projects. Every opportunity I'm doing well. You're telling me I'm doing great. But for some reason, other people keep landing these roles ahead of me. And I never really got great feedback at the time. Or if I did, I certainly don't remember it almost 2 decades later. But what I can really see with clarity now is that I was focused so much on how well I was doing, what results I was getting in my current role, and not on the results that were needed for a management position, for a leadership position. It was a totally different ballgame. And you think I would have learned that lesson right there. You think I would have had some sort of aha moment after 3 times, after kind of having a little breakdown with my boss, who luckily I had a very good relationship with at the time. But I didn't. I went on to get rejected for another job I tried to get, thinking, okay, well, maybe I just need to level up to like the next level of work as an individual contributor, have them see that I can, manage customers in that way and, do things in that space. And again, I got passed over for one of those roles 3 different times. And then eventually I got brought in on the team. And when I moved to this new team from the outset, I said to my new boss, listen, my goal is to get into leadership at some point. I said it from the beginning. I said, this is what I want. I want to be in this team. I want to learn everything I can. I want to gain experience, but that is ultimately where I want to go. And that was the beginning of me really sort of declaring that this was my next step. The role that I was in wasn't to be the best, customer manager on the team. It was really to gain the experience I needed to then eventually manage people. And for anybody who's ever managed customers, managing customers is managing people essentially. And so those skills really ended up transferring. And so then when the team I was on grew enough to expand into needing a team lead, I was the person for the job. I was doing the work that was needed in that space. But I still at that time really didn't appreciate what the problem was. Really didn't appreciate where things were going wrong for me. And I don't think that I really figured that out until years later. You see, one of the people who got one of those original team lead jobs ahead of me, I always wondered what they had that I didn't, right? Like what did they do in an interview that made the current leadership team think that that person was going to be more successful at this than me because I just didn't think that would have been true at the time, right? Just based on how we performed in the role we were both in. I came back around to that person probably, I don't know, close to 15 years later down the road and watched them work in another capacity, in a whole other team. We were both in different roles. And I watched them talk about their team. I watched them talk about the work that they did, and it was sort of like this light bulb moment for me that this person was so good at articulating the results that they were bringing and what they were bringing in the future, right? Really setting this vision of what they could do aligned to the bigger picture, aligned to the strategy, aligned to where we were going. And what I realized after listening to this person multiple times is that that was what they were really good at. And I am sure when they sat in that interview, I was talking about how I would kind of outperform in my current role. And they were talking about what they would do as a leader, how they would drive the entire team forward, how they would get the results that they needed in that role. And that's a huge difference. So, of course, they were the person who got the job originally and not me. And so I think that that's when we sit down to update our resume, to update our LinkedIn, to go through an interview. We often fall back on our stories of our experience, but we don't reframe them into what that means moving forward in this role, right? We get so caught up in tell me about a time when dot dot dot, and we're just working on crafting this really pretty story that goes along with that instead of talking about what did you learn from that and how is that something that you could apply in the future. One of my favorite frameworks that we use to really capture our stories and to talk about how we have certain experience or how we've gained certain knowledge or how we've utilized certain skills is the STAR framework. STAR is the traditional framework, and that is the situation, the task, the action, and the result. So the situation is give me the context and the framework and frame up what happened or what was going on at the time. The task is what were you tasked to do? What was the marching orders you were given to go out there? What was the play you were supposed to run on the field? And then the actions are what you actually did, right? What skills did you use? What steps did you take to then score the points that you did, right? The results, the outcomes that you ran for the business, the things that led to, your company, your team, your organization moving forward, getting wins, that sort of thing. It's a great framework. It helps you organize your thoughts, organize your stories in a way that's high impact that other people can really understand. I don't know, probably about a year ago, I saw somebody throw an extra R on the end of that. So instead of STAR, it's STARR. And that last R is for reflection. And when you add that on, it's not only what was the situation you were in, what did what tasks were you supposed to do, what actions did you actually take, and what results did that drive, but the last R is for reflection. And that is what did you learn as a result of that? And this is the gold. This is the thing that helps you go from, yeah, this is this thing I've done in the past and look at these outcomes that I've driven. This is the thing that can solidify in someone else's mind how you can drive those types of results wherever they are, right? If that's a hiring manager, if that's someone who's promoting you on a team, if that's somebody who's, looking to move you around internally, give you an opportunity, I'm confident that that person can drive results because look at this lesson that they've learned, right? Look at these things that they've brought to the table. So a good example of this would be like I was talking about um, you know, with my story about looking for this job, right? I really wanted to get into leadership. There were opportunities that were open, but I had been passed over multiple times, right? That was the situation. So the task that was coming up was our team was expanding and there was going to be a leadership opportunity. And so I knew that I wanted to get it, right? That was the task at hand. I had an objective and that was to get the next leadership opportunity available on the team I was at that time. The action that I took was I studied what other leaders were doing. I really understood the business. I understood what was important to my boss. What problems did they have that I could take off their plate, right? I really explored, I really understood at a deep level what it was like to operate as the manager of a team. And I made sure that I went and did the things that helped me get those skills. So I joined a leadership development program. I read leadership books. I shadowed my boss on, different customer calls, on different ways of phrasing things. I volunteered as a mentor when we would hire people. I redid our onboarding program so that I understood really what it took to get somebody to learn how to come onto this team and perform at a high level. I helped track our metrics. I helped our boss put together the presentations for our quarterly business reviews so that everybody understood that, right? Like I got ingrained in the business. And as a result of all of that, I ended up landing the role. I was a shoo-in. They didn't even interview anybody. They just created the job and handed it to me because I was so ready for it because of all the work that I had put in, because I understood everything differently. And so the reflection, right? What I learned is that when you want to achieve a goal, when you want to get an opportunity, you have to make sure that you understand what it means to really live in that opportunity, what it means to be the person in that role, what it means to get that result, what it means to achieve that thing. And once you understand that, then the path on how to get there becomes so much clearer, right? And so for me in my current role, that helps me as a coach help other people do that same thing. It helps me help other people get extraordinarily clear on where very specifically they want to go, and then help them get really, really clear on how exactly they're going to get there. What are the steps? What are the actions? What very specifically does it mean to move from point A to point Z? And what are all the letter steps in between? So see, like if you're listening to that example, right? I pivoted from this experience that I had, this situation that I was in, how I had failed multiple times doing it, into the reflection that then leads me into how I'm applying that in the future, how I'm moving that forward. And so you can do the same thing as you're sitting down prepping for an interview, or even as you're sitting down thinking about your experience so that you write it correctly on your resume, that you write it correctly on your LinkedIn. You talk about the value that you bring to the table. And if you look at all of your experience enough and pull that together into a story, eventually that's your personal brand, right? Those are the results that you drive at the next place that you're going to get. And when you talk about opportunities, when you talk about promotion, when you talk about landing a new job, those are the things that are really important. So I hope that this was very helpful to you. Again, it's that STAR, STARR framework. I will link in the show notes an article that I wrote that's got all sort of information about like how to do that, what that looks like, in case you can't remember any of this off the top of your head because you're driving while you're listening to this. But I hope that this is helpful. Tune back in next week for the next edition and the next thing that we'll talk about. I'm not sure what that topic is yet because we are learning as we go here. But if there's something that you want to hear, or if there are topics that you'd like to discuss, or hey, if you want to come join me for an episode of Locker Talk and you can ask me questions and we can go back and forth, I'm happy to do that too. So we're going to turn this into whatever we want it to be. And I hope you'll really join me here in the locker room so that we can have some real talk about what it takes to be successful in your career and really go and get the things that you want.